Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. I forgot today was Veterans Day. Everything is closed. The bank is closed, and I totally forgot, y'all. Everything's closed, but that's okay. I did find something out. UPS was still open, so I took a whole bunch of orders over there. So I took advantage of that, but they're not federal. So that I understand why they are open. They're not federal. But anyway, we're going to talk about people are very upset with the Democratic Party. They feel that they caved. But y'all, even with the Senate vote, it's still got to go back to the House. So if the government opens back up, it's still going to be a few days. It's not going to be right away. It's not going to be instant, like tomorrow morning, everything's back up and running. So it moved from the Senate to the House. They have to do their vote. Then it has to go to Donald Trump for him to sign it. And I don't know. Politics are becoming so confusing. It's not even funny. They're not only fighting over the government opening, apparently there's some fight going on over hemp. And there are some that want to ban it, and there are some that don't. And that's another fight that's going on behind the scenes. So it's one big old mess. That's what it is. So we're going to look at some reaction to people feeling like the Democrats should not have given in. And folks are also upset because, see, they were holding out over keeping health care costs down, and the fact that they didn't even fight that and they just went along to open up the government again. Folks are now anticipating skyrocketing healthcare costs. So you may be on, let's say, Obamacare right now and you're not paying a premium. Well, guess what? You're going to be paying a premium because the Democratic Party did not fight like they should have. They don't believe in fighting. It seems like all they want to do is find ways to negotiate. They sure don't know how to bear down and fight. I guess it's just too many old people. That's why they don't want to fight. They just want to negotiate everything instead of bearing down and giving the Republican Party a run for their money. They always looking for some way to go along. Just like Akeem Jeffries, when the measure came up about Charlie Kirk Day, remember Charlie Kirk Day, Day of Remembrance, and Hakeem Jeffries went right along with that. They don't have no fight in them. They really truly don't have. If you're looking for a party to stand up and fight, you don't look over at the Democratic Party because you won't find nobody over there. For real. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. Shalom to everybody in the chat. All right. Okay, please give me a one if you can see my screen. Thank you. All right.
Democrat senators caved and the government was reopened.
What happened?
Republicans convinced 8 Democrat senators to agree to end the government shutdown and to permanently not fund Obamacare for anyone. This is going to cause America's health premiums to increase up to 4 times. When the Democrats were asked about why they did this, they said if we didn't, the government never would have reopened, so we had to.
What are the conditions they agreed?
Trump has to rehire the mostly Democratic government workers he fired during the shutdown that he used as a bargaining chip. And the government will be funded throughout January 2026. And there will also be another vote in December to lower healthcare premiums for Obamacare by extending the tax credit. But chances are that won't happen either. They didn't gain anything besides people getting rehired until January 30th, 2026. Then Trump can just fire them again anyway.
So all they did was show how weak and spineless they are and why Trump doesn't respect them and does whatever he wants.
You act as if them cracking under pressure teaches Trump he can get away with his actions in the future, and that's why he walks all over. How is it weak if they claim none of this was their fault? And why are people calling them spineless?
Because those senators that cave show that they are followers and have no ability to lead.
In 2025,
So Democrats caved on the shutdown, and I want to talk about this because it's very interesting. The one thing that caught my eye as a former Senate staffer myself was Senator Durbin of Illinois. First, he's not running for re-election, so why would he feel pressure to cave? Second of all, he's Democratic leadership. He's one of the leaders of Democrats in the Senate. For him to cross and do it means he's doing it strategically. He's doing it for a reason. He's not just doing it because he thinks people back home want it. I think what happened was, as has been discussed, a number of the Democrats caved. A number of the Democrats got scared and said, we're afraid about next year's election. You've got to reopen the government. And they didn't have enough Democrats to vote with them to do it. And therefore, Durbin had to basically cross the line. Durbin, who would have not joined on, Durbin crossed the line and voted to reopen the government because they needed the votes and didn't have the votes. Now, they're claiming that a lot more Democrats behind the scenes also wanted to reopen the government. Why didn't they vote for it? Maybe they were too afraid of the grassroots, which actually is a good thing because it means we're doing our job in terms of scaring them. But again, Durbin joining in means this was not just rogue senators. This had the approval of the Senate leadership.
Last night, while some of us were sleeping, 8 Senate Democrats voted to reopen the government. Now, you could really only have one or two feelings for this. Either you support what they did, in which case this video is not for you, or you're like me and you're pissed because why did we spend 40 days and 40 nights fighting against Senate Republicans who were willingly and knowingly prepared to allow Americans healthcare increase to cost upwards, in a lot of cases, of 75%. And of course, they're going to say, we just wanted to end the suffering. Part is, now that those 2026 proposed healthcare insurance premiums were hitting the average American's mailbox, even Republicans, even MAGA were like, hold up. We didn't know this was going to happen. What the fuck? We can't afford this. So they gave in on a pinky promise, essentially. And I just want to know who was standing behind the back of Mike Johnson to see if he had his fingers crossed. I want to point out, collectively, all of these senators have a combined net worth of over $50 million. How much money do you make?
And this is why the Democratic Party is, hard with getting any trust, because here we are off of the biggest win that we've seen, in a very long time, only to be sent, 50 steps back, because you have several Democratic senators that have now decided to side with the Republican Party, thinking that they are doing something that none of the actual people, the will of the people that have a brain, are asking for. Again, you have people like Durbin, who is in his 80s. That man doesn't give a shit about what he is doing right now because it will not affect him. And the fact of the matter is, his ass should have been at home a long time ago. But this is absolutely, screaming old man strategy, old man policy, which absolutely begs the fact that Schumer, the call has come from inside the House, and they are asking for him to be replaced. As it's time. It's been more than time, because this is absolutely a throw a rock, hide your hand type situation. And he used these people as expendables, but they allowed themselves to be used. So let's not, absolve them from any of this. because they absolutely could have said, no, I'm not going to do this. Like Kane. Kane was absolutely one of those people who was against a lot of this stuff. And now all of a sudden, he's like, oh, I'm voting for them. Then you have people like Shaheen who, again, doubled down on socials and was just like she was helping, federal workers and all this other stuff get back to work. And the federal workers are like, girl, ain't nobody asking you for this type of help. Get your ass in there and vote the fuck no, because that's what we're telling you to do. Why have you had us out of work all this time if you were just going to get in there and be a bitch? Now, here's the other thing. She's like, she's going to ensure that healthcare premiums will not skyrocket. Girl, the skyrocket's already in the room and lit and going this way because it's open enrollment. And a lot of people are getting snapshots of what that cost is going to look like, i.e. teachers. You're getting ready to see a mass exodus of teachers because teachers have their contracts with their insurance built in, which means some states, you have to carry the mandated state insurance. If they can't afford it, and they still need to feed their families and still be able to, do what needs to be done, do you think they're going to maintain that teaching position? No, baby. Y'all didn't like teaching your baby during the pandemic, but y'all better, get in there and say something. Y'all better be picking up these phones. Y'all better be on them socials. Y'all better be, with these emails. Now, by the time most people see this, will the vote have happened? Possibly. There's still time for people like Kane to change their mind. There's still time for Fetterman to actually do some shit and not be the mediocre white man that y'all put in there. And the fact that y'all did, I swear to God, I question a lot of things that are going on in your life. I guarantee you your relationship status fucking sucks because the red flags that were there, the absolute red flags. But again, we can see this. This was absolutely a throw a rock, hide your hand situation. Everyone on this list either is not up for re-election or not seeking re-election, like Durbin. Again, the motherfucker's in his 80s. He doesn't give a shit about what, happens now other than just keeping the peace and riding the wave out to retirement. And here's the thing. Y'all got to get in these comments and absolutely tell these folks how you feel and let them know your ass will not have a moment of peace. I hope you think about this moment when you sold out America and you sold out the most vulnerable, like, Bernie Sanders has eloquently pointed out. We're standing to lose about 50,000 people a year because of the medically compromised folks that will not be able to buy, certain prescription drugs to stay alive, will not be able to make, medical premiums to stay alive month to month. So instead of doing this way and getting a half-hearted promise from, DC's villain, Thune, who has never made good on a promise yet. And here's the thing, the speaker, Richard Scarry's room, Mike Johnson, has said he has no thoughts of really revisiting this before all of this really became a thing. You think he's going to revisit it now that they're going to get what they want? Hell fucking no. I wouldn't. Let's just go ahead and call a spade a motherfucking spade. So here's the thing. Are we going to allow this shit to happen, or are we going to continuously make sure that these people that we put in these offices do what the fuck we ask them to do? Because again, we should not have to call you all and beg you to activate your spine. Okay? Jellyfish, what are we doing? Y'all, again, America's not a real place. And here we are with this situation. And we're glad that the call is coming from inside the House to say it's time for Schumer to take his ass on to the House and sit down in his rocking chair, because this could have been prevented. And the fact that he's trying to make it seem like he's against it, but you absolutely sacrificed the folks that you knew wouldn't fall into any type of consequence. This is old man strategy. And we see it from a mile fucking way. This is why we say local elections are the most important.
Like and subscribe to Mom's channel.
You probably heard the Democrats caved on the shutdown. They didn't get any of the healthcare stuff. And it's probably no coincidence that they did this right after the election, where Mondani won and a bunch of Democrats won office. Because they saw the polls and they're like, oh, if voters don't want us to capitulate to the Republicans, okay, well, we won't until after the election. And while this frustration is fresh, I'm asking you to watch this video, entertainment purposes only, and opinion. Probably learn something that's very, very important about the Democrats, which is the Democrats' actions and rhetoric during the campaign season does not line up with their actions when it's not a campaign. They usually do the opposite, which is further right than the Republicans. They ran on ending the border wall construction and deporting fewer people with Biden and Kamala. They built more new barrier than Trump did with the border wall, broke more federal laws to do, and broke Obama's record of forced removals of migrants. In 4 years, they are the further far right wing party. Take the last two presidents, for example. Barack Obama runs on ending the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, immediately escalates those wars, gets us into 5 new wars, becomes the only two-term president to be at war every single day of his administration. So he's going to bring about hope and change, transparency, address issues facing Black people. What does he do? He arrests and incarcerates more whistleblowers than ever in history, more than like the 8 previous presidents before him combined. Unalives a father for having a controversial YouTube channel with a drone strike. Unalives that father's kid and his friends who had nothing to do with his controversial YouTube channel, also with a drone, while they were at a coffee shop. American citizens, gives police more military equipment than any president prior to him. They go on to have 4 record years of number of people unalived by police, including the 3 most Black people killed by police in U.S. history, at least since they started counting. I know they've been counting since at least like the 50s. All of his bailouts go to banks. Oh, and like car companies, not to the people. Says he's going to support a sensible migration policy, deports more migrants than any president in U.S. history, builds the infrastructure and cages more kids than Trump ends up caging. Largest cuts to food stamps in U.S. history. Reverses the U.S. policy, which had been in place for like 70 years and was a very good environmental and economic policy, which was that all domestic oil had to be sold here. They couldn't export it. Then we become the world's biggest oil exporter under Obama. Trump breaks that record for oil exploration and exports. Biden breaks Trump's record. Told Planned Parenthood codifying Roe would be something he'd do on day one. Never bothers. Could have had the public option, even Medicare for all. He had a supermajority. He gets us Obamacare, which just ended up being more expensive for health insurance. It was a Republican solution. Yeah, it was called Romney Care before that. And then he puts a penalty on people who don't buy health insurance, and not just rich people, middle class people too. Uses violence, intimidation, and undercover FBI agents to break up the Occupy Wall Street movement. Allows the federal, state, and local police to go crazy on all the Dakota Access Pipeline protesters, including allowing use of attack dogs to maul people and shooting people in freezing temperatures with water cannons. Shut down the Mike Brown protests, the Eric Garner protests, the Freddie Gray protests. Does nothing to make sure that Ruth Bader Ginsburg, retires so he can replace her. Also, lets Mitch McConnell block him from replacing or from nominating a Supreme Court justice. Despite Netanyahu hating him and the Israeli media calling him a monkey, he gives him the largest aid. Hospitalized, 4,000 arrested, professors hospitalized, brutalized, arrested, losing their jobs.
Democrat, as a guy who's very involved in local politics, I am extraordinarily pissed off. So are the Democrats getting what they want in regards to healthcare? No. Is their concession going to perhaps reduce the impact of ICE grabbing brown people off the streets and masked agents? No. Will the Republicans accept any responsibility for the chaos in this country? No. So basically what I'm saying is the Democrats coming off of an awesome election week where they showed for the first time in a long time that they have fight in them, are just gonna be like, yeah, we'll get down on our knees again, Mr. Trump. Thank you for being here. It is so fucking infuriating. Poll after poll showed the American people by far blaming Trump and the Republicans, like poll after poll. This is the first time in forever the Democrats had any real leverage, any real power. Flights being canceled on Thanksgiving would have sucked for all of us, myself included, okay? Sometimes things have to suck to awaken a population to an authoritarian takeover of the government. And what we've been going through is an authoritarian takeover of the government. I want to reiterate this. We now have people, armed, masked agents without identification, walking around and grabbing people because they are brown, taking them away in vehicles without explaining a just cause. If they're American citizens, we'll release them later. And if they're not, we'll deport them. Well, first we'll send them to a prison in Louisiana without telling their family, then we'll deport them. This is what we're living in right now. This is what we're fucking living in right now. And the Democrats actually had the first momentum for a long, long time. And they're just giving it up. Just giving it up. I'm truly outraged. Like, these are not normal times. If you think they feel normal, if they feel normal in your life, these are not normal times. This is an authoritarian, an aspiring authoritarian who is going to do everything within his power to make sure the 2026 elections are unfair. I guarantee you. And this is where we are now. It sucks.
Y'all want to hear some fucked up news? 8 Democrats caved last night, and now the shutdown is over. With a bipartisan agreement that reopens the federal government, prevents further layoffs, and keeps critical programs running, like SNAP benefits, through next September. Now, the measure known as minibus provides full-year funding through next September, while maintaining spending levels through the government till January 30th. Now here's the fucking kicker. The final deal does not contain the ACA. So the Affordable Care Act and its premiums can still go up. The Democrats have made a promise that, hey, we're going to vote on this in December. We about to get ran through, y'all. On top of that, the government has snuck in a backdoor deal to abortion. Yes, baby, they want to make it harder for you to get an abortion, whether you're in a state that accepts abortions or not. And they're doing it through government funding on these facilities like Planned Parenthood and clinics. So if you receive a certain type of government funding, you cannot give abortions out. On top of that, if you're part of the Affordable Care Act healthcare insurance plan, you may not receive that either, making it harder for women in any state to get an abortion. On top of that, it'll make it harder for cancer screening and to get birth control. I don't see people talking about that shit. So I'm just throwing that in there because that is a part of this government spending bill for next year. Let me give you the list of motherfuckers that caved. Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois. Senator Angus King of Maine, Senator Catherine Cortez Masato, I hope I said that right, of Nevada, Senator Jackie Rosen of Nevada, John Fetterman's ass from Pennsylvania, Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia, Senator Jeanne Shaheen, and Senator Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire. And one Republican voted no, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. Most of these senators I mentioned are up for re-election in 2028 and 2030. We're getting their asses out. They've got to fucking go. Wish I had better news. I'm sorry, y'all. Let's see what happens in December.
But it was predictable. I said on Tuesday night during our election night coverage that I expected the Democrats to cave because the election is over. This shutdown was always a political shutdown. They knew that they would try to gin up their base for the Tuesday elections. And once the elections were over, they didn't really know what to do next or how to get out of it. So they just caved in. And I'm not sad they didn't get anything for it. I feel something like Judge Smales in the movie Caddyshack. You'll get nothing and like it because bad behavior should never be rewarded. And this was all bad behavior. They had this deal on the table 30-something days ago. And yet they put the American people, they put federal workers, they put SNAP beneficiaries, they put all these people through this pain for political reasons. And now we see that. And I'm glad the government's going to be opened up, but I'm not sad for these Democrats on social media tonight who are having a meltdown because this is their party went into this for purely political reasons. They never really knew how to get out of it, and this was always going to be the end result.
The Democrats caved. The Democrats caved. What are you? I have tried to calm down so many times to record this video, but Senate Democrats, it's official. They are actually voting with Senate Republicans to reopen the government and got absolutely nothing from the longest government shutdown in history. What was the point of doing this in the first place if you weren't actually going to care about the Affordable Care Act? What does getting a vote in December mean for the millions of people who are going to experience an increase in their healthcare premiums of $100 to thousands of dollars? If you were going to cave that easily, if you were going to be that soft, if you were going to, what was the point in America going through this in the first place? What kind of stunt is this? Whenever you guys get on my page and you try to say, oh, I'm so biased, I'm so this, I'm so that, I will say what I actually feel regardless of what party they are a part of. This is not something I agree with. This, try to keep it calm. This makes no sense. That's the nicest it can get.
All right, y'all. I woke up today still angry as fuck, and unfortunately, I do feel like I need to keep talking shit about Democrats, and now we have more information about the ones who caved. So here are the gang of 8 right here that caved and stood for not one fucking thing. I also think this picture is interesting because, what do they all have in common? Let me move. What do these 8 people all have in common? And then on top of being completely out of touch and out of step with the American people, their messaging fucking sucks. Like, if you are going to cave and disappoint people who you know you have the public support of, at least have some messaging that you can come with. Angus King got on the news today and was like, yeah, we just couldn't fight back with Trump. Like, what? And you're saying that on TV? You think that's a good message? Are you fucking stupid?
So standing up to Donald Trump didn't work. It actually gave him more power.
Then we got this one right here. Ran straight to Fox and Friends to talk about her caving. Like, who are you really trying to represent? What are you really trying to do? Fox is your first move? Like, are you fucking stupid? Yet again. Then we got Tim Kaine trying to make us feel hopeful that a vote is happening. Bitch, we don't care about a vote happening. That vote is either one, not going to happen, or even if it does happen, like you say it is because you're so geeked up about this promise of a vote you got, the vote is not passing. So what the fuck are you really talking about? And I said this before, I'm going to say it again. They did not have to do this. They did not need to do this. They had all of the leverage in the situation. This vote is just putting a Band-Aid on a wound that's going to be reopened up on January 30th when we might go into another government shutdown again. And problems people are facing are going to be so bad when those subsidies expire on December 15th. And the assurances that they got about the reduction in workforce, that Donald Trump can't do that, he's just going to find other ways to get rid of federal government employees. Like, let's be so fucking for real. This shit is weak. There is no reasoning, rationale, nothing for it. Republicans owned this government shutdown. They owned it. The public associated with them. And now because of these 8 fucking losers, we are going to lose this battle. And people, unfortunately, are not going to be better off. Like I said, this is a very temporary fix that's not really solving anything in the long run.
So let's talk about this Democratic cave. I've seen the takes. I've seen the pundits and party loyalists already trying to spin this like it's some genius 4D chess move. Like, this was the best outcome we could get, or this is actually good for the Democrats, or at least the government's going to open now. Let me stop you right there. This was a cave. There is nothing strategic about giving up your leverage for a vague promise and no real deal. This isn't a win. This isn't compromise. This isn't playing the long game. This was a surrender, plain and simple. Democrats had power. The shutdown gave them leverage. Republicans were under pressure, agencies frozen, workers unpaid, public outrage building. And instead of using that to force an actual deal on health care, wages, and worker protections, Democrats blinked. They voted to reopen the government with zero guarantees. No health care deal, no binding agreements, just a half-hearted, we'll vote on it in December from the same Republicans who spent years breaking every promise they've ever made. You really think they're suddenly going to have a change of heart? I mean, come on. They didn't care when the government was closed. They sure as hell won't care in December. So let's be clear about what this deal actually does. It reopens the government without securing a single tangible concession. It lets Republicans walk away clean while families, federal workers, and the poor are left holding the bill. And while this shutdown dragged on, people were hurting. Federal workers missed paychecks. SNAP benefits were delayed. Housing aid was frozen. Public programs were gutted. But ICE, still fully funded, still essential, still out there terrorizing communities. The GOP didn't care. They don't play by the rules. They play for control. And Democrats, instead of holding the line, handed it to them. This wasn't about pragmatism. It was about fear. Fear of being blamed. Fear of bad headlines. Fear of being called obstructionists. Meanwhile, Republicans were literally obstructing the entire government. That's not leadership. That's cowardice. And now the same talking heads that called progressives unrealistic are out here cheering this surrender as if it's a masterstroke of moderation. It's not. It's appeasement. And it's exactly why working people don't trust this party to fight for them. Let's talk names. These are the Senate Democrats who voted for this deal, the ones who sided with Republicans to end the shutdown with nothing in return. Dick Durbin, Tim Kaine, Maggie Hassan, Jean Shaheen, Catherine Cortez Masto, Jackie Rosen, John Fetterman, and Angus King. We see you. We know exactly who you are. You can call yourself Democrats, and we can still call your offices to remind you that we're watching. You still work for the people, and we the people are not happy. Here's the bottom line. Republicans didn't win this fight because they were smarter. They won because Democrats refused to fight back. They let themselves be played again. And when you reward bullies for bad behavior, they don't stop, they double down. So don't let anyone tell you this was the best we could do. That's defeatist garbage. Because if the best we can do means folding to extremists who don't care whether Americans eat, work, or live, then the bar isn't just low, it's underground. When the pundits flood your feeds talking about bipartisan unity, remember this. It's not unity when one side keeps surrendering. It's not compromise when one side keeps bleeding. And it's not progress when the people still lose. To the Democrats who caved, enjoy your press releases, because while you're spinning, we're organizing, we're fundraising, we're remembering names, and in the primaries, we're coming for every one of you who thought surrender was strategy. You don't get to call it leadership when you fold under pressure. You don't get to call it progress when people are suffering. You cave, we replace you. Simple as that.
All right, well, there you have it. The Democrats who made a 40-day shutdown completely worthless are Durbin, Rosen, Cortez Masto, King, Kaine, Fetterman, Shaheen, and Hassan. With the exception of Fetterman, every single one of these people is over 65 years old, many of them in their 70s. And how I know that Chuck Schumer was still behind this is because none of these people are up for re-election in 2026. Old-timey Democrats like this don't fall out of line unless they're told to fall out of line. And I just wish that the establishment Democrats would catch up and realize that the American public is more educated on how to play politics than they ever have been in the history of this country, and they know when you're playing them. So what happens now? It's passed the Senate. It'll have to pass the House, which it will because they have plenty of votes to do that. And then Donald Trump will take a massive victory lap on the Democrats. And it will be very difficult to get anybody to trust the Democratic establishment truly ever again. All those people who just survived going without a paycheck for the last 40 days, hoping that when the shutdown ended, they wouldn't also see their healthcare premiums doubled, just got fucked. I'm sorry, there's just not a better way to say it, okay? There's no easy way to say it. Now, if this is your first time dealing with this kind of disappointment, let me tell you as a Buffalo Bills fan how to get through this, okay? We are always losing, both as Bills fans and as Democrats presently. And it's not like what happened today makes us any more of a loser. It just means we're losing from an even worse place. So we were losing, we were going to lose, and now we're losing from a 15-yard penalty. Like, we can make it up. We can make it up eventually, but probably not going to the Super Bowl this year. Not with this team. Not with this team. The Buffalo Bills and the Democrats are not winning with this team. Now, the difference is the Democrats have the ability to cut some of their dead weight players and maybe turn things around for themselves by February. But that's another story. I'll see you for the primaries, guys. I mean, this is where they say, oh, it's red versus blue. It's not. It's blue versus blue right now. And it's blue versus purple, red, whatever is going on over there. It is new, progressive, aggressive people who care about their fellow American versus whatever that is, whatever it is they want to do, playing politics, the old establishment game. It's a losing game. Can't play a fair game with liars and cheaters. So it sucks. And all we can do is hope to get rid of the people who made it suck and make up some of these penalties.
So after the giant blue wave crashes against the red MAGA shores last Tuesday, giving Democrats surprising victories all across the country, from Mamdani in New York City to Proposition 50 here in my home state of California. Democrats reaching for more inclusive, more progressive policies actually win. Even in Mississippi, the good people there voted to end the Republican supermajority, which may not sound like a big deal, but it's a big deal. So what is the lesson that moderate Senate Democrats learn from this? Is it that they should not be so moderate and that they should aim higher and more inclusive? Nope. 8 Democratic senators just voted to vote with Republicans to end the shutdown without including the healthcare subsidies. That means I think most Americans will have their healthcare costs double, go up by 114%, more than double. Or were they just jealous of all those Mamdani headlines and memes? Getting jealous of Gavin Newsom? Vote them all out. Write them down. Vote them all out. Vote them all out.
Well, that's why so many of us don't mess with politics, because you can't rely on these people to do the right thing. They're not going to ever do the right thing. It ain't about nothing. And look, you got 8 people that were over 60 years old that sided with the Republicans to reopen the government. And you notice none of them were melanated. Okay. So they were older white people that ranged in age from 60 to 80. So that should explain why they had no fight in them. There was no fight in these people at all. They just want to go along to get along, and let's just move this along. Those type of people that don't want to be bothered with nothing. So you did all of this just to cave and not work any kind of deal out on healthcare. So in the meantime, y'all, over these next several weeks, all of us are going to be seeing big increases in our healthcare premiums, because the Democrats had a chance to do something and they dropped the ball again. This is why people can't stand y'all. They can't stand you. So anyway, y'all, go down in that comment section and let me know how you feel. I know I'm not going to be happy looking at higher premiums, and I know many of you are not going to be happy about that stuff either. But these are the kind of people that are in charge. So much for that damn high IQ. Since you have one, it would help if you use it every now and then. In this instance, you didn't use it at all because you don't have it. That's why. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. I will see you on my next live at 3:30. Donald Trump is pissed at the air traffic controllers, and he ordered all of them to get back to work now. So we'll talk about that at 3:30. Shalom, family.